Welcome to Chapter 2, The Purposes and Functions of Art. My name is Professor Klotz, and I hope that you enjoy this lecture. Please be sure to take notes also. We will begin with our learning objectives, explain the ways in which artists transform objects for daily use, describe how design and embellishment create visual delight in art, compare the different ways in which art can function as a means of communicating information, discuss the use of art for both public and personal expression, demonstrate how art can be used to meet religious and spiritual needs, and explain how art can be used for political purposes. And so the different purposes of art include art for daily use, art for visual delight, art for communicating information, art for public and personal expression, art for the spirit, and art for political purposes. So the first example is a chair, which is actually an example of art for daily use. Another example would be shelter as a basic need and how architects and designers can make surroundings very distinctive. And so an example of art for daily use would be Frank Lloyd Wright's Barnstable House. He also used embellishment and created this design scheme based on repeated hollyhock flowers. And so again, this would be an example of art for daily use as it is a home. And then art for visual delight. This is a purpose that is often seen as a principal goal of art. It happens when we are captivated by work of art. Aesthetics refers to a branch of philosophy that studies how and why artworks are considered beautiful, which is something pleasing to the eye and agreeable to the mind. Idealism is beauty found in something that is ideal or close to perfection. This is the idea behind much of art created in ancient Greece. And ancient Greek art often falls into three categories of archaic, classical, and Hellenistic. And we will learn more about that in a later chapter. So we're going to see an example of art from ancient Greece, which is a sculpture titled Charioteer, which also represents balance and quiet dignity. And so again, this is Charioteer, and it is a bronze sculpture from ancient Greece. So art for visual delight has a pleasing balance or harmonious proportions. We see this within Claude Lorraine's painting and how he has balanced the trees and cliffs. Light is evenly diffused throughout. The term picturesque describes natural landscapes that are attractively poetic rather than dramatic, and the original meaning of picturesque is actually traced to the paintings of Claude Lorraine. And so here we have an example of an oil on canvas from Claude Lorraine, and again, this would be a picturesque painting. Calligraphy is the art of beautiful writing. And we see an example of a couplet from a poem from the Song Dynasty. So again, this is an example of calligraphy. Another purpose of art is art for communicating information. Art can impart information and ideas. Artists and illustrators used to be the only source of information about visual appearance, and artists have shaped the way people understand their world and the way their culture is viewed by others. Storytelling is part of communicating information. Stories can be personal, moral, or historical. And we see within the painting by Titian a recounting of a mythical story. And all of these images are also in the textbook, so you can go back to view them more. Now, another purpose of art is art for public and personal expression. And under that category, we have commemoration. So many monuments in the ancient world have had a commemorative function. The Taj Mahal in India commemorates a ruler's wife. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial bears the names of 60,000 servicemen and women who died or are missing from the war, excuse me. And so this is actually in Washington, D.C. And I want to mention that the design for the memorial was a bit controversial because it included the names of the soldiers, and it had not ever been done before. Typically, memorials previously included statues. And so at first, it was a little controversial due to the design. However, I'm going to read from the textbook. It says here that the Vietnam Veterans Memorial soon attracted thousands of visitors who appreciated the solemnity of the black granite walls and the personal attention involved in the recording of every lost soldier's name. The monument has also influenced many other public memorials since, as inscribing the names of all commemorated people has become a more common practice. And so another purpose of art is for public or actually we're continuing with public and personal expression. However, now we're going to explain what self-expression is. So this is one of the most common purposes in art, and self-expression could include the personality of the artist's feelings and worldview as well. And a great example of art for personal expression would be Kandinsky's painting here. And so he sought to reach out to viewers with his inner feelings and emotions. And he also is influenced by music, I want to mention. And so he would title his artworks compositions. And then another purpose of art is art for the spirit. And here we have Sainte-Chapelle in Paris. So buildings intended for gathering can also be visually striking. And it actually resembles a giant jewel box. And its original function was to be a storehouse for precious relics. And I want to mention we will actually be able to view some Gothic cathedrals in a later chapter. And they often had a lot of stained glass as part of their design. And so stained glass is actually a hallmark of the Gothic style. And the stained glass was to allow lots of light within the church. And light was to represent, of course, the presence of God. And so our last purpose of art is for political purposes. So art can be used to express political goals or ideals or for persuasion. And so here we have the United States Supreme Court building. It is massive and symmetrical, communicating balance, order, stability, and continuity with the past. The style of this marble-clad building is derived from the ancient Roman Republican period, during which citizens also enjoyed the right to vote. And so you see a lot of American government buildings that have been influenced by the design of ancient Rome. And I want to mention also that ancient Rome was influenced by ancient Greece too. So you have a lot of this design that is very similar. And so you see that here with the building in the front with these columns, and you have like Doric, Ionic, Corinthian columns. Those were the three types of orders, of capital orders within ancient Greece. And we will see and read a little more about ancient Greece and Rome in another chapter as well. And so again, the idea is because in the Roman Republican period, citizens also enjoyed the right to vote. And so again, a lot of the architecture from ancient Greece and Rome influenced that of American government buildings. And then finally, we will look at Kathy Kollwitz's art as well. She actually created a series of prints titled The Outbreak, and she devoted her career to art that took political positions. She created a series of prints that encouraged workers and peasants to protest and struggle to attempt to improve their lives. She made art that depicted the difficult living conditions of Berlin's working classes. So that definitely would be an example of art for political purposes. Well, this concludes our lecture on Chapter 2. I hope that you enjoyed the lecture. Thank you.